Today on the X-Files, we're going to look at a fairly lesser known manga from 1997, a time where Jump would be looking for new hits among a wave of recent big manga ending. Sadly, this wouldn't be quite what they were looking for. Full name, One Piece. Start date, July 19th, 1997. End date, November 22nd, 1997. Total chapters, 17, compiled into 2 volumes. Eiichiro Oda would begin his manga career by submitting a one-shot called Wanted to the 44th Tezuka Award and winning 500,000 yen in cash, as well as some recognition, which helped him get acquainted to other mangaka and put him on the map. After penning a few more one-shots, he would begin working as an assistant under Shinobu Kaitani on Suizan Police Gang, and then with Masaya Tokuhiro on Jungle no Oja Ta-chan, a comedy manga popular in the 80s. Here he would brush up on his fundamental skills and start to network with other mangaka, with Masaya even introducing Oda to his idol Akira Toriyama. Once Ta-chan ended, Oda would go on to help with his next manga, Kappaman, which would not do so well. It was revealed later in interviews that behind the scenes, Oda did such a poor job in both series that he may have been the cause for both ending prematurely. Often he would spill ink on completed pages and sneak in odd panda-like characters into backgrounds where they weren't supposed to be, causing a lot of extra work. Oda would start to gain a negative reception around Jump manga authors at the time, but despite this, Nobuhiro Watsuki would take him under his wing as an assistant on Rurouni Kenshin. Still, Oda would make the same small mistakes and would instead focus his efforts on his own one-shots, while he was supposed to be working, leading him to be fired by Watsuki. He would go on to produce more one-shots, namely Monsters, which we'll touch on a bit later, and a few drafts of a one-shot named Romance Dawn. Through a stroke of dumb luck, and despite editors not thinking a pirate story would work in Jump, it was accepted as a serial under the new name of One Piece. One Piece begins with Monkey D. Luffy, a want-to-be pirate living in a small port town, where he idolizes a group of pirates led by a man named Redhead Shanks. I'm not sure what Oda was thinking making the protagonist a child, as Luffy is super annoying at the beginning. He's always shouting and stealing things. Thankfully he grows up during this chapter, but that choice in itself is also kind of weird. It creates some pacing problems at the beginning when I think Oda should have just jumped straight into the action and skipped this prologue section entirely. Here he eats something called the gum fruit and gets the power to turn his body into rubber. It's way too silly and not nearly as cool as some of the other power systems Jump had and would have, like JoJo Stands or Hunter x Hunter's Nen, which would debut in the next year. The intro deals with some forgettable mountain bandits who attack Luffy for being annoying, so Shanks saves him and ultimately loses his arm at sea by this big dragon thing, and the characters are so dumb in this manga. Shanks just does not fight back here, and I don't get why he loses his arm. This somehow sparks Luffy to want to be the king of the pirates, the greatest pirate of all, and he wants to find something called the One Piece. But the manga never really explains what that even is. We would only find out what the One Piece actually is later on in interviews from Oda once One Piece ended. Following this, Luffy goes from ship to ship fighting Villain of the Week, wanting to collect new crew members. He's joined by this chubby kid named Cody, who's super weak and pathetic, and spoilers, he doesn't even join the main cast and disappears after this. I don't get why he's really even included in the manga, to be honest. Our real first secondary character is Roronoa Zolo, a swordsman who is probably the only cool character in the manga, although he uses 3 swords, somehow using his mouth. And yeah, I think Oda's trying a bit too hard here to make a unique fighting style. It's again way too silly. Together, they escape this marine base after fighting off Axe Hand Morgan, a pretty goofy villain with an even goofier son. The two then get on a really small boat and drift into the sea, aimlessly searching for the One Piece. That's when Luffy has the brilliant idea to just grab onto this random bird. Like, what? It's stupid and comes out of nowhere, and this just ends with him landing on a new island and introducing Nami, our next main character, who doesn't really get to do much of anything with the rest of the story we have. We also get to see the main villain of this arc, Buggy, who is a literal clown. Oda's just rubbing it in our faces now, a literal clown antagonist.
You can't keep getting away with it!
The combination of gags and action really doesn't work, and it's constantly distracting. It's like this is all one big practical joke or something, to see how far he can get by making one of the stupidest manga ever made. Thankfully, editorial and readers saw through this, and the manga was promptly cancelled, with Zolo landing the final blow on Buggy, taking him down, and the village thanking the trio for saving them, even though Nami and Luffy barely did anything. The manga then ends on this pretty dull page where Luffy gets mad that the treasure was left behind at the island and Zolo laughs at him. The adventure has just begun, apparently, but in actuality it just ended because this manga is so bad and nobody wanted to read it.
Know your fucking place, trash.
So as you can probably guess, One Piece isn't a very good manga. It's full of annoying characters who often just make stupid decisions out of nowhere, with Zolo being the only half-decent character. His sword style is still really dumb though. The artwork is also very lacking. It tries to be an action series, but the goofy gag art style doesn't fit, and Oda's character designs are atrocious. Buggy the Clown was the kicker though. People realized Oda was pulling a massive prank, so they quickly shut him down. Later on in interviews, Oda would reveal that he would keep going as long as he could, for decades, even to 1,000 chapters, only to reveal eventually that the One Piece was just one giant piece of shit. In some ways, I kind of respect it in a weird way. It's like the Freddy Got Fingered of manga.
Daddy, would you like some sausages? Daddy, would you like some sausage?
But also, it's just such a horrible manga to read, and I understand completely why it got axed so quickly. Most people haven't read One Piece, although its 2 volumes are available on the Viz and Shonen Jump app for some reason. Now and again they would translate some old manga that got axed, like Gunblaze West or WaqWaq. Maybe it's due to his connections with other big authors, since he was an assistant to a few. Let's check what other people think though. The YouTube poll saw 47% of people say the axe was justified, with only 5% thinking it should have gotten a chance. Pretty overwhelmingly negative there, no one liked it. The comments pretty much expressed their distaste for the series, with most of them mentioning how the only good thing to come out of it was Zolo and his connections to monsters. On the Twitter side of things, we saw something pretty similar, with 8.2% saying it wasn't justified, a bit more positive, but likely only due to Zolo, as a few people mention him in the comments. So where are we now? Surprisingly, Oda did not in fact get blacklisted from the manga community and would go on to workshop other one-shots and do assistant work for the next few years, working under Musashi Kishimoto of Naruto fame. Thankfully, from working under such a talented manga author who would go on to save Weekly Shonen Jump, Oda would stop his pranks and would focus on making more serious manga. He would take one of his one-shots, Monsters, and bring back Zolo from One Piece to make a new serialized version of the work as a samurai action series. Due to Naruto popularizing Japanese-themed battle shonen, it was a decent success, lasting for a total of 17 volumes and even getting a short anime series in 2013. Oda would then disappear off the face of the earth for about a decade, only to come back recently in 2023 with Zaku Zamurai in Weekly Shonen Jump, a new Mobile Suit Gundam manga with a focus on a samurai Zaku mobile suit who goes around cutting down various monsters and other mechs. It's too early to say if it'll survive yet, since mecha is a pretty risky genre in Jump. You can check out my Mecha in Shonen Jump video if you like a short history lesson on the topic. And that was One Piece. Basically a massive joke from start to finish, but an interesting part of Jump history that spawned one of the weirdest authors the magazine's ever seen. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for future Axe-Files videos. I've done quite a few so far, and I talk about all sorts of other Jump topics on my channel, including the magazine's history from its very beginning in 1968. I also have a Discord where you can join and discuss Axe manga like One Piece, and we also do monthly read-alongs of Axe manga, where I eventually make a video on the manga we read every month. A link to the Discord will be in the description. As always, fuck you for watching, remember to be hateful, and I hope you fall down the stairs.
Julian!